Hi guys, Phil here with another Haye Sainte update. This is May's update, completed in the first couple of days of June. Start off with a good book, which is a good read for those of you interested. Brendan Simms' The Longest Afternoon. And this book is very simply written, well researched, and it's all about the King's German Legion at Haye Sainte. I highly recommend it as a good read. Okay, what's been going on? Quite a lot's happened recently. In the last month, we've done some more casualties. We've added to Haye Sainte, and we've worked on the cavalry. I'm just going to talk a bit about Haye Sainte. Named, or the rough translation is Crown of Thorns. As you know, it was one of the defensive positions, point defensive positions used by Wellington to protect his centre at Waterloo. Manned by elements of the King's German Legion, initially 6 understrength companies of 378 men, all riflemen, so using the Baker rifle with its own unique ammunition, which those of you who know becomes an issue later in the day. Each rifleman carried 60 rounds of ammunition, and the remainder of the ammunition for these rifles was in the rear. To the east of the farmhouse, as you know, friendly forces, there was 2 companies of the rifles in the sandpit, and to the rear of them, some 400 metres, was Picton's 5th British Infantry Division to their rear. Initially, they had 2 guns up with them to provide intimate support, but these were quickly destroyed during the initial stages of counter-battery fire. Troops in Haye Sainte, commanded by Major von Behring, who was a veteran of the Peninsular War, and initially he deployed his men both in the orchard, where he commanded, in the farmhouse, and obviously the kitchen garden. The kitchen garden was obviously manned because this provided a passage of lines for a retreat to Picton's division, should it be needed. After the initial French attack, though, von Behring realised that the hedgerow and the apple trees provided very little cover to his troops. So after the initial French assault, the orchard was abandoned, and the troops fought out the rest of the day until about 6 p.m. in the evening in the farmhouse, in the buildings, the complexes, and in the garden. What we're depicting here is one of the assaults, the first assault there by Orland's brigade, who assaulted obliquely from the southeast, while the French initial assault went in on the ridge under De Leon. The King's German Legion were supported throughout the day by various elements. They kept sending pleas back, von Behring did, for ammunition, and each time he didn't get the ammunition, all he got was reinforcements. Initially, he was sent, 3 battalions went down to relieve them: the 8th King's German Legion, the 1st and the 5th. They all went down in line. Quite controversial, this, because the French cavalry were milling around and they were attacked by cuirassiers. The 8th battalion was pretty much annihilated, and as a result, pretty much carried out no further action that day. The 1st and 5th managed to form square, however, and survived the onslaught. At 1700 hours, the light company of the 5th King's German Legion deployed to the farmhouse under Wum. These were the light company, and they were armed with muskets. And also, in addition, they received support from around 200 Nassars. And there's a couple of Nassars. There's an officer and a trooper. The farmhouse was manned, obviously, all day, and the French cavalry assault went on from about 1600 hours, and you can see that in the background. Going to point out a couple of figures I've added. So first of all, if you look carefully, you can see I've got, get you in focus, a rifleman there. He's in the process of climbing on the roof of the barn. Obviously the French have broken into the gate, which actually happened, and they fought hand to hand with the troops inside on the cobblestones, eventually to be pushed back and the main gate shut. And he's obviously turning around as he realizes the French have broken in. In the corner there, we have, with the red bandana, a colourful character, Private Frederick Lindau. Private Frederick Lindau fought the whole day in the farmhouse complex, was involved in defending the roof of the piggery, in the courtyard, and eventually in the house itself, where he was captured. He survived the day. Bit of a colourful character, as I say. Led a sortie out to clear the French from the main barricade under the auspice of pushing the French back. Actually, what had happened was he had shot a French officer, and he went out and used the sortie as an excuse to rob the French officer, and went back in with his fob watch and a sabotage of coins. Eventually, like I say, he gets captured. Prior to that, he gets shot and gets in the back of the head, no less, and is told by one of the officers to go to the surgeon. He refuses. He gets his quarter rum, pours it into the back of his head, which you can imagine what the wound was like. Rum into the wound. Well, it would disinfect it, I suppose. And ties his neckerchief around his head. And I've got him there wearing his red neckerchief, or a red neckerchief around his head. Eventually he's captured and is taken on the way to the rear once the French have taken Haye Sainte, and is subsequently robbed of the French officer's coins. But in the process, he doesn't give up the fight and chins one of those Frenchmen trying to rob his coins. In addition, I've added there one of the battalion marksmen on the roof. A couple of them sat on the roof of the stables, picking off the French cavalry. I can't remember the name of them, I'm afraid. Read it in one of my books, and can't for the devil on me find which it is. Okay, what else? There's a couple of other guys put in there just to bolster them out. But in all, about 378 plus the reinforcements they received. Towards the end of the day, before the farmhouse actually fell, there was only about 42 of them that survived. And eventually they retreat through the farmhouse, fighting a fighting withdrawal, through the garden and into the sunken lane, where they carry out a defence. And in fact, towards the end of the day, just before victory is declared and Wellington orders the British line to assault, after the French chasseurs and the old guard have been defeated, von Bering finds himself alone with a shattered leg, all his men having gone to find ammunition, exclamation mark. I suppose by that stage of the day they'd pretty much had enough. What else have we done? I've added some characters. We've got old Wellington himself in. If you can make him out, I've put him in the square of the 92nd. You might not be able to see him there. On his horse with a staff officer. We'll get another shot of that, it's not very clear. Added some more staff officers. There's two in the square with the 28th of foot. And I've added a Prussian staff officer. There he is himself, a very slim von Muffling. And there's a pretty good shot of him there. What I'll do now is just take you to the other side and you can have a look at the French cavalry. I've pulled it all out. A bit of a shot you haven't seen before, looking from the west. And what we've got here is, there's the other side of La Haye Sainte. And there's my battalion marksman. He's a conversion from a Airfix US Marine paddling a dinghy. And I chopped him and added on the King's German Legion or green jacket body. And then it's a paint job. What you're seeing there is some Nassau's firing through the stables at the French cavalry. And then you see an assault going in on the barn door. And this is actually, those of you who know, where they breach. The barn door actually had been burnt the night before by the units for wood, and it was just a rough barricade thrown up. And what you see over there is the staff officer, general staff officer, pointing to the senior infantry officer at the barn door, basically saying, that's where to make your breach. I'll just take you down here. You can see the cavalry. There's a shot of some of the French cavalry. And I've done a shell exploding there. Nice effect. Plenty of casualties. And then the sort of first line of French cavalry approaching the sunken road. There's Mercer's troop, and behind them the squares. A lot of groundwork unfinished. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'll see if I can get another shot of Wellington for you. The light's not good here. There's a couple of staff officers in the square of the 28th. And then there's old Wellington himself. So guys, that's it for today. Getting there. More groundwork done. More casualties done. Nice little casualty there, which is a convert of a cuirassier, airfix cuirassier. Chopped legs and then added cuirassier, airfix cuirassier body on a horse that was riding, but changed the head. Yeah. Another shot there. We'll have a couple of these shells exploding. Now I'll shut up now and just let you pan and have a look. No idea how many figures. Must be nearly 3,000, I would think. In October, 10 years work. But there we go. All right, guys, enjoy.